Hello again, welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. Paul Schrimpf and Eric Sfiligoj.
Back in studio
We've
together.
been together too much lately.
And actually, since neither of us, I think, are traveling much in the month of November, we're going to be here a lot going forward as well.
Yeah, so if you really want to talk, stop on by, because, we can
We
take
will.
people to lunch, but that's about it.
Yeah.
We're trimming just a bit,
Yeah, it's end of the year. That's
it's the end of the year. Well, that was kind of the theme of the PACE Council meeting is, can we get this year over, please?
That's right.
Take my year, please.
The 2019 PACE Council meeting just took place in Chicago. Paul and I are just back from that. And there were about 25 individuals in the room talking all about the trends, worries, challenges, opportunities for this year and looking ahead, of course, into 2020. So, Paul, what were your takeaways from the meeting?
Well, like I said, it was pretty much a gloomy Gus meeting all the way around. I think, folks,
I
it seems
have to
like folks
smile
really,
at that usage. I like
folks
gloomy Gus.
really had to get some things off their chest. I think, we just, as
This
we
is
went
true.
around the room, and we strategically placed some of our high level kind of big thinkers at the front of the room to start speaking first, and it took about half the room around to recover from what was initially said.
This is true.
I think from one thing that was really interesting was actually we talked about at the dinner the night before was WeWork and some of the things that are going on with venture capital, and noting that they had an IPO and planning to do an IPO at $47 billion, and now they're about 30 days away from complete bankruptcy.
Right now, we broke, not we
We
would. Sorry, had to have it.
Well played, sir.
Thank
So the question is one is actually WeWork is used by a lot of venture capital in capital companies, and you wonder if those if they can't renegotiate the leases and so forth. WeWork is this big collective of
Yes.
office space. They lease and they release it to other companies who are kind of starting up, and they can get out of their leases, I guess, at any time, at a moment's notice. But WeWork has a lot of these long-term leases in these buildings, which unfortunately tie them up with dollars, and sometimes there's gaps. It's a mess. There's a huge amount of debt. Banks are trying to refinance and help them, I guess, to survive. But they're certainly not too big to fail. So if they fail, you wonder, with other companies, and they had a large debt load too, other companies out there in agriculture and other industries that are in venture capital that are hocked up to the hilt and have big debts and haven't shown any dollars. If those venture capital money are cut off, those companies essentially are going to cease to exist.
Yep.
So it's concerning. I'm not going to name companies because I don't know what everyone's individual straits
We're not
are or
sure,
what
yeah,
such
right.
situations they're in, but certainly something to be cautious of if WeWork is just one domino, or if it's dominoes that will fall in other can't say it, in other industries as well as agriculture. So
Yeah, actually, I was when that came up, Paul. It was interesting to me that a company that could be valued at $47 billion could almost go to like junk bond status in like a couple of months' time. It's just incredible to me how much money that actually is and how quickly it basically evaporated. I was shocked at that myself, and I know I've sometimes, like you, I've wondered about some of the venture capital investments we've seen into the agricultural market, and basically what would happen if the spigot was turned off all of a sudden. So again, we'll have to watch and see what happens here going forward between now and 2020.
absolutely. So what about you? Anything cool pace that you saw?
My big takeaway, of course, is the one thing we did debate for very long around
Don't
the table.
say the word. Don't say it.
Was glyphosate, and basically what's going to happen with the chemistry and the brand going forward. There were some people in the room that thought defending it made sense. Other people thought, hey, this might be a lost cause, too damaged of a brand to try to defend long term. So we'll have to see what happens as we move forward. Obviously, our friends at Bayer and elsewhere are going to have to do what they can in the courts of public opinion and the the jury system. Thank you.
So you're having problems too.
I'm having problems too. See, it was pace. We got home late.
Oh
I'm
my
sorry.
gosh! Yeah, pulled in the driveway at midnight last night. So
Yes.
yeah, we're all a little bit punchy.
A little bit. So anyhow, we'll have to see what happens there. So those are my two things, kind of what's going on with pace.
Sure.
And also, just to mention, one of the things that did come up at the PACE meeting, they were talking a little bit about sales for some of the equipment manufacturers. I know that I was recently on a trip where I visited with the folks in actually two Sioux cities, Paul. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, with the folks at Raven Industries, and then Sioux Rapids, Iowa, with the folks at Ranco. Talking to both companies, which you'll be seeing some photos of my visits up on screen right now. Both of them had a fairly strong 2019. They said it actually was a better year for them in 2018, sales-wise, and they basically are looking forward to some more positive news going forward in 2020.
Did you say Sioux Rapids?
Sioux Rapids, yeah.
That's a real city.
It is.
It's not like Sioux Falls, Sioux Cedar, or you didn't mix up anything.
It's if you're riding down Highway 71 through Iowa going north or south, you will find as you go through Sioux Rapids, just after you see the city sign, on the left-hand side will be Ranco's headquarters, and on the right-hand side will be their production facility. So yes, it does exist.
All right. Well,
They also have a nice gas station there. We filled up there.
I know the next place I need to go in Iowa then.
All right. A couple other things to share. CropLife 100 information was shared at the PACE meeting. I know there's a few folks out there who haven't gotten me your forms. Expect to be getting some phone calls from me to find out where your forms are, because I'd like to get the last dozen or so in that I do not have. But Paul, we found out at the PACE meeting, as we were going there, that two of the CropLife 100 companies that are separate here in 2019 will be getting together in a merger situation in 2020. It would be our friends at Mid-Kansas Cooperative who are going to be acquiring our friends at Midwest Fertilizer. That deal should be going down the first quarter of 2020. And Rod Silver, who's the president and CEO of Midwest Fertilizer, had to say about this is, when we looked into the future, it was important to partner our organization with one that would look out for the needs of our customers, employees, and company. And Mid-Kansas Cooperative is the right partner to make that happen. So as I said, those two companies will be getting together, Paul. They'll probably have about 70 or so locations between them spread out across the state of Kansas, first quarter of 2020.
Interesting. Yep. Just more cooperatives getting together.
Yeah, and then some good news to share, I guess you would say. I know we talked about glyphosate and its problems with the
You said
public.
it again.
I did. But we did get some news from EPA. They basically said they've concluded there's not enough evidence to conclude that paraquat, another important product for agriculture, causes Parkinson's disease. According to the release, there is limited but insufficient evidence of an association or causal relationship between Parkinson's and paraquat. So according to EPA, it is safe to continue using paraquat.
Good. It was a side discussion I had with a couple of folks over at the PACE meeting, but it's good to see EPA making statements, but I'd love to see them really come out and vehemently defend the science that they create and present. Especially with glyphosate, I think there's decades of science behind that,
Yep.
and they should be screaming from the hilltops. I think from talking about the safety of this product. But
We'll have to see what happens.
we'll have to see what happens. So.
And I guess you have some news to share about an event.
Final note, and I will say this even though it's on behalf of a person who would rather see more of you than me on these videos.
I did not say that.
That's
You
kind of
are
what she
really
said.
reading into that email.
That's kind of what she said. So this is for
Okay.
Bonnie McCarville. So the MACA, Mid-America CropLife Association, having an event called Sustainability. What can we do about it? Tuesday, November 5th and Wednesday, November 6th at the Renaissance Airport Hotel, a lovely hotel in St. Louis. It's right by,
It is
very
nice.
conveniently located right by the airport.
Yes.
Lots of parking. It's a nice place.
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed it many times. So Michelle Miller, who is the farm babe, who is good, not the food babe, who's very bad. Michelle Miller is going to do a presentation, Food System Security Feeding the World, and that will kick off the conference. That's afternoon. A reception on the 5th, and then a half day on the 6th. I believe, maybe a full day, at least a half day on the 6th. So, sustainability is something that we're, as an industry, we're trying to get our hands around and define. So this is an opportunity to engage with some great people, hear some good speakers, and talk more about sustainability.
Yeah, so if you're interested in attending, I'm sure they'll find space for you there in St. Louis, and we'll put up the website address you can go to for more information right now.
There we go.
There you go.
Well, that's it for another edition of CropLife Retail Week. We'll see you next week. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below.
Your feedback is important to us. We'll try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode.
And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.